Well, they say that you're a fool. You believe in magic. I'm Paranormal Pete, and I'm on a journey to seek answers to the questions that have crossed all of our minds. What happens to us when we die? Is there an afterlife? I'm a regular guy who discovered the gift of psychic mediumship in my 30s. My passion for history and the unknown have put me right here, right now. My mantra for anything paranormal is, we don't know much and anything is possible. Join me as we find our way through the stories, evidence, and experiences of the paranormal and beyond in search of answers, even if that leads to more questions. Are you with me? Welcome everybody to the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Peter Abea, and gosh, I can't believe it's Thanksgiving week already. What in the heck is going on here? Time is just flying by, and we're on episode 85 here on WLTK-DB.com. If you haven't found that website yet, you're missing out. There are a ton of shows, and our station manager, Todd Bates, he's usually on the ones and twos. I'm on it tonight, so hopefully everything goes smoothly. But he just keeps adding shows like crazy. This station is just growing. It's so cool to be a part of it and just see all these new shows coming up. So if you think you've seen everything on our website and the station, you're wrong. Go back and check it out. We've got just a lot of great content throughout the week. So if you like this show, I know you're going to love all the other shows. We've got cryptid shows, metaphysical, healing shows, psychic medium shows, paranormal ghost hunting, true crime, name it, we've got it, and it's all right here on WLTKDB.com. And if you don't have our station app, go get it wherever you get your apps from and just search WLTKDB. And you'll find the app there. You can listen to live shows. You can get to past shows. You can go to the website. You can do a lot with the app. So I would encourage you to go get the app. I use it, and it's pretty handy. We got SW commenting, Todd Bates is a busy boy. He sure is. Well, and I always give a shout out to him for all the work he does for the station and being on the ones and twos for all of us hosts and making the whole ship run. I just got my copy of Todd's new book, The Haunted Voice. Just got the paperback, and he signed it too, which is really cool. So I'm very excited to read this. We were going to have Todd on last week, and my modem said, nope, I'm going to die. And so I was out of internet, and so we couldn't have him on, but he's going to be on December 13th. So Todd's going to come back on. We're going to talk all about his new book, The Haunted Voice, in December. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Big shout out to good friend and producer of the show, Michael Beers, as well. If you're listening out there, hey, Mike. And got Linda checking in. Hey, Linda. Thanks for watching. Great friend of the show. If you want to say hey or let us know where you're watching from, we'll put it up there and say hey, and of course, as always, I hope you'll ask questions throughout the show. My guest tonight, Kelly Brickel, is also a host of the Psychic Hour right here on WLTKDB.com. We're going to be talking numerology and mediumship and healing, so we'll get into that here shortly. If you like the intro music, that's my band, Steady Rock Cosmonaut. Shameless self-promotion here. If you like the music, go look up Steady Rock Cosmonaut wherever you stream music, and you'll find our first album there. So I hope you enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. I've got ghost walks coming up, special investigations. We had some bit of activity this last weekend on our special investigation, and you can. It was a lot of fun. It's always right at the end. It never fails. It's always right at the end when everything starts happening in the Walker Ames house there. But if you're interested in attending a paranormal investigation or taking a ghost walk tour of one of Washington State's oldest towns, just go right here. If you're watching, you can see my hat, portgambleparanormal.com. You can see all the upcoming dates and you can get tickets. So a lot of fun. This is my 12th season of doing the ghost walk tours, and it's still fun even after 12 years. So always new stuff to talk about. We've got the Oregon Ghost Conference coming up in Seaside, Oregon, and that's March 24th through 26th. So we're going to be promoting that. We'll have conference coordinator Rocky Smith on a couple of times leading up to the conference in March. It's one that I've been attending for the past number of years, and it's a great conference, great place to meet new people, and of course reconnect with others who live similar lives. So it's a lot of fun. You can go to OregonGhostConference.com to check it out. And I know that Rocky was going to try and have tickets available right at the first of the year. So OregonGhostConference.com. Check it out. And if anybody's been to that one or the Port Gamble one, chime in, say you've been to which one you've been to or both. I really like how the Oregon Ghost Conference really complements the Port Gamble Ghost Conference and vice versa here. So we just wrapped up the 13th annual Port Gamble Ghost Conference. It was amazing. It was a lot of work, but the work always pays off because it was an awesome experience. We had 3 days of speakers and classes, and of course, investigations at night. It was so fun. We had our biggest attendance yet. There's Katie, good friend of the show. She's been to both. All right, good deal. Thank you. So yeah, it was our biggest yet, I think, attendance wise. And the classes were really cool. The speaker topics were really cool. I think everyone learned a lot, and I heard from many people that they had an impactful experience that they'll be taking with them long beyond the conference. So that's what it's all about, making that experience. If you have an aha moment or meeting somebody with a shared experience, it was just a really cool experience. So we're looking to do the Port Gamble Ghost Conference next year, November 10th through the 12th, and we have that on portgamble.com. And so you can find info on that. And of course, I'll be updating the website as I move through the planning phases. So, anyways, big shout out to all the vendors that were there, the speakers, certainly, the class instructors, and all the volunteers that helped make the investigations run smooth. Couldn't have done it without all those people. And so it was a lot of fun. So thanks everybody for being there. Mary checking in. Hey, Mary, good friend of the show. She was at the conference. I know she was there. But anyways, it was a lot of fun. And so we hope to see you next year or see you in Oregon too. So that's March 24th through 26th. Well, let's bring on our guest this evening. And I got to meet Kelly Brickel at the Orange County Paracon, OC Paracon, October 1st and 2nd. And it was kind of cool. Nicole Strickland was there. So we had a few WLTK-DB hosts there. And it was really cool. I was glad that it was so fun to represent the station and meet some of the other hosts. So I got to meet Kelly, and of course we said, well, we got to be on each other's shows, and she does some interesting work, and I think everyone's going to enjoy what she's got to bring to it. She's a psychic medium, numerologist, healer, and spiritual teacher. Her passions are learning about the soul and energy, whether the connection is through spirit, emotion, or vibrational numbers. There's always a pathway to a plethora of information waiting to help. You can find Kelly teaching, conversing, and sharing her gifts on the weekly radio podcast show, The Psychic Hour, right here, guys, on WLTKDB.com. Let's give a big show welcome to Kelly Brickel.
Hello.
Hey,
Pete.
welcome. Well, we got another person checking in here, and hopefully you guys listening and watching out there, ask away questions. We like questions on these shows. Hey, Wendy, thanks for watching. Jessica, hello, Pete and Kelly. Thanks for watching. Right on. Thanks for supporting the show, you guys, and be sure to check out Kelly's show, The Psychic Hour. I'll be on there coming up, so definitely check it out before then. And Wendy says, back to you. Hi, Kelly. So tell us a little bit about the psychic hour, and then we're going to kind of dive into you and how you came up in all this, and I'd love to pick your brain on numerology, and kind of the work you do with it, to help people in everyday life. So tell us a little bit about the psychic hour.
Sure. The Psychic Hour is on every week on Wednesdays and Fridays. And Pete will actually be on December 14th. So that's coming up next month. So you can check him out there. And so it's on during the afternoon, um, 1 p.m. Pacific time, or 3 p.m. Central. So there's always a playback too on all the platforms if you want to stop on by and listen to Pete. And the Psychic Hour, it's an interview show, and also it's a reading show. So on Wednesdays, that's when we have fantastic guests like Pete, and we really just dive in for an hour and get to know them. If they grew up with any abilities, and the show really focuses on intuitive natures within people, whether it's something they do within mediumship, investigation, research, healing work, sound therapy, even psychotherapy, if they are energy sensitive. So it just goes into people who help others in many different healing modalities and platforms. And we try to get to know the person as best and for them to share their heart. We have wonderful guests on, we really do, with people with like just years and years of experience. I'm blessed to have them on. And then for the Friday show, that's usually just yours truly, me, and I do psychic readings for an hour. And whether we get people on through sometimes like live, we get them on with like video or audio, or just taking questions. And I do a lot of numerology readings on that, as well as card pulls. And sometimes I do just when I'm feeling into the actual energy of the person. So it's like kind of a mixed bag. A lot of people request, hey, I want a numerology reading, or hey, I want a card pull. So it's really just a fun, creative time, and I just really love it. I do.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you got to love it to do it. Otherwise, otherwise that's painful. So what? So right. So you do a lot of different types of work, with energy and spirit. Do you find like, like on your reading show, if you're, let's say somebody wants to do a numerology reading, well, you start, if you start picking up all kinds of other stuff, do you kind of blend it all, it if you feel that that's where it's going and it needs to come from many different places, like, do you kind of blend it, or do you kind of try and keep numerology separate, and then tell whatever's coming in, hang on a second, do your numerology, and then go to the other one? Do you blend it, or how does that work for you?
I really try to be as flexible as possible and let things naturally come in as they do. But my brain, it's a bit Virgo, my brain. It can be very, hyper focused. So if I'm doing numerology, my brain kind of just does numerology. If I'm doing psychic, it just does it. But I can switch from 1 minute to the next. I
Mm-hmm.
just have to give myself that directive. But there has been times where I go, hey, hold on a second. Before we get into this numerology, let's talk about this first, because this is coming in a little bit strongly.
Okay, so you do kind of blend it, and yeah, I think that's got to be tricky. I mean, was it really challenging, when you're first kind of coming out and you're figuring it all out? What was the challenges with being able to work with so many different, through so many different resources? What was the challenges?
I think it's a lot. I don't think it's ever really a good idea to do too many things at one time. You know what
Right.
I mean? The brain can only do so much. So there are times where I go, hold on a second, I am doing a little bit too much, and I try to slow my brain down. I really try to, and that's why I prefer to kind of just do one thing at a time until I'm a
Yeah.
little bit comfortable. But there's been an onslaught at times, so Like I really started off doing like healing and psychic and mediumship, and the healing came first. So I did a lot of
Hmm.
meditation and healing, and then I started getting into numerology. Then I started developing my psychic skills, and then to my mediumship skills. And so when I started professionally, I did a lot of healing, and within that healing work, I'd give a lot of readings because it'd be on the person's energy, what's going on with their body. Um, and also, it would go like the psychic route. So I became, after a while, very fluid with doing healing and psychic work. And numerology is a psychic modality, so they really blend together quite easily as long as you're comfortable doing them. The
Hmm.
mediumship is different. You're tuning in differently. You can still get mediumship impressions while you're doing that, absolutely, but you're focusing on what's in front of you. And with mediumship, you kind of have to focus on who's connecting with you and who's blending with you, who's impressing upon you, excuse me. And
Yeah.
so it's a different awareness. And there's some people, when they do healing work, they can pick up spirit very naturally. And so I'll feel them with me when I'm doing healing work, but I'm so concentrated on the body that I don't put my awareness always there first. So I
Okay.
do tend to be a little bit more psychic until I put my awareness on the mediumship.
Wow. That's okay. Yeah, that's really cool. And so you've kind of developed over the years. Like, did you kind of develop a system, or did the universe kind of develop a system for you?
Both. Yeah. Yeah, I really carved out a lot of trial and error, like what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
There's people who want it all sometimes, not because, they're trying to stress you out. It's because they're like, oh, can you contact, looking at a loved one, and can you tell me about my energy and my future, and can you tell me this and that about my numbers? And so there's been experiences like that, and I go, whoa, hold on. And then there's been times where I go, let's just try it, especially in the earlier years when I was feeling a bit more curious, and I was just like, it can't just work all at once, everything. And
Yeah.
some people can, you know what I mean? I never put limits on anyone or anything, and I'm always welcome to the possibility.
Yeah. Great mindset to have. I mean, I always feel like, we don't know much and anything's possible. And so we have to stay open minded with that kind of mindset. Got a couple more people checking in here saying hello. We got Angela over on YouTube there. Thanks for watching. And another person, hello, Kelly and Pete. And if you go to StreamYard on Facebook, you can get the permission so your name will show up here if you comment through Facebook. So just go to the StreamYard page on Facebook, and you'll get a menu to so you can comment, and your name will show up. And then Jessica was saying while you were talking about the different things you do, that's why she never misses Kelly's show. She's amazing.
Oh,
So
Jessica's
thanks.
awesome.
Thank you for the comment there. So, well, how? Let's talk about your mediumship then. If it sounds like that was kind of there, maybe all along. What did you know you were psychic when you were a kid growing up? How did that? So you discovered a little bit later, or figured out what was going on. Tell us a little bit about that experience for you.
For sure. As a kid, I was always very aware of people. I remember being, and this sounds really young, but it's the truth. I remember being 2 years old in like preschool, um, like 2, 3 years old. And I was aware of how my teachers were feeling. And I
Okay.
was curious about them. I'm like, why do they feel like this today? Why do they feel like that today? I was just aware of, I don't know, how people felt and how they acted and how they socialized. And I would think often as being really small, oh, wow, why are they being like this if they're like something else on the inside? Or, wow, this person is a lot like how they seem or how they don't seem. I was just thinking about all these things. So you can imagine when I'm a kid, I'm playing with Barbies and I'm having like these like really complicated,
Thoughts,
stories
yeah.
playing out,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm able to pick up on things I didn't think were that fantastical. But now that I think about it, I'm just like, wow, not a lot of people think so much about how a person is doing and what's on their mind and their emotional state, and if they look
Right.
well that day, and if they don't, what's going on with them. So my brain was always kind of doing that. And so I was very, I guess, good with dealing with my friends if they had problems, or I would,
Okay.
talk to them, or I'd always be open to, I guess, listening about their lives because it
Mhm.
just kind of fit with what I guess I was interested in and what I was able to feel and think of regarding. So I did notice that was a little different as I started growing up, but I didn't think much of it. And when I was a teenager, I started having a lot of like sleeping issues. Like I just couldn't go to sleep. Like my adrenaline or something was just running. And, when you are having spiritual experiences, when you're sensing spirit, like you're very much awake feeling and as well. That can keep you up. You're just
Mhm.
overtly stimulated, it's
Yeah.
just almost like you're just there's just various things to pick up on, and I just didn't know I was having spiritual experiences. I just knew I really couldn't sleep, but I was always one to be curious about like spirituality. Like, so I always had a curiosity in religion. I always had a curiosity kind of at church even as a kid, and I'd
Mhm.
kind of think philosophically. So my brain was kind of like this, that's why I want to encourage people. Everyone kind of has a brain when they're younger that kind of operates a certain way. You have certain likes, dislikes, interests. Yes, sometimes people numb themselves when they're younger or they go through really difficult things. But
Mhm.
at one point in your life, you go, yeah, I've kind of always liked that. Or, sometimes you can have those connected dots. And so those were some of where my curiosities lay. And when I was having the sleeping problems at school, I was at home a lot. So it gave me a chance to kind of go deep within to myself and go, why is this going on? I don't understand why I'm not able to be healthy. I don't understand why I'm not able to go to school like everybody else, because I really liked school. It's just my body was just
Yeah.
crumbling. I just wasn't restoring it. I wasn't regenerating it. And I was actually trying and it wasn't working. Um, and so I turned on the channel one day, turned on the TV to the Montel Williams show, and Sylvia Brown
Nice.
was on at the time. And she's a bit of a controversial figure, I would
Sure.
say, with what we know now. But I didn't know that people did readings, like other than at fairs. Like I had no idea that it really was much of a thing. Um, and she would talk about some concepts and teach things with the audience, and I would think to myself while I was watching it, well, those are some of the things that I think about, when I'm alone in my room
Yeah.
meditating, or those are the things I've considered. So okay, let me just kind of keep watching. And I just realized actually kind of how similar I was to the things that she was doing, even though
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was a thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it all makes sense to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So, yeah. Oh, yeah, please. Yeah, keep
well,
going.
okay. So, did you? Sounds like you kind of started to have these connections of like, I was thinking this. Wow, this is actually a thought that people think of with spirituality and communicating with spirit. So you had kind of all these connection pieces. What was like your first impactful experience of when you realized, okay, I am a psychic medium, this has got to be what's going on? Was there like an impactful experience that just, hit you and you're like, all right, this is what I am. I don't know much about it, but I'm going to learn. And did your life change too?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually did have some neat experiences kind of coming up to that really impactful one, but I was a pretty logical person. And so I was like, okay, maybe this is science, or maybe I'm, making it up, or, maybe this isn't possible. So I actually had a number of experiences, but I always had that file open of, maybe it's nothing, or I was just so practical and logical. So it wasn't until I was actually, and I was pretty deep in a believer at that point, I just thought, um, how can I put it? When you believe in something so much, but you're concerned about what other people think because you don't want people to, I guess, think of you to be crazy when you're first starting your psychic mediumship journey, and no one really has interest in it around you, you don't share much. So I had a lot of experiences, but I didn't share very much with people.
Okay.
So yeah, it wasn't until I took classes, and at that point, I had already been meditating for 10 years. I've been taking, I've been reading books, I've been going to conferences, but I didn't start really taking classes until about 10 years in. Um, and I started having experiences through those classes, and my classmates, I could have feedback, I could have, peers
Sure.
actually commenting, and I was just like, okay, like I'm very comfortable here. I very much like this. I want this to be my life. And it started going in that direction. And so it really kind of, how can I put it? I started, I'm going to give you the mediumship story because I had various aha moments and epiphanies and every different section, I should say. But I'll give you
Okay.
the mediumship story. So I was at actually Elisa Williams' conference. I was in her advanced mediumship class. And at this point, I really had never given a reading, a mediumship reading. I hadn't, but I
Hmm.
got into the class. I had enough knowledge under my belt where they're just like, come on in. And I was just like, what am I doing here? How did I get here? How did I get in? And I gave a reading while I was in class, and it was so vivid. And I could see the loved one so clearly. It was a mother, so clearly that it was like 3D. Like there was a 3D object that just like was just floating in air, and it was interacting with me and smiling. It wasn't doing things that I was imagining. It was interacting with its own life force. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So I was like, whoa, I am not making this up. And I started hearing things very crisply and feeling things. And I remember that reading, I got somebody's name, nickname, and memories about them. And I'm just like, there's no possible way that this can be made up. Like I was having experiences before, and people would say, oh, you got this, you got that. I'm like, great. I'm just like, and I just didn't, on a level, I just didn't believe it. I
Sure.
needed so much. I needed a little bit too much.
I know exactly what you mean.
Exactly. But that reading really blew the lid off because I was hearing things and seeing things, and I was just like, I didn't do that. I did not do that. That just happened, and just, it was there. Like there's no way else to explain it.
Yeah.
It was just there. That person, that spirit was there with me. Yes.
And were you overwhelmed with feelings and emotion during, after? Did that just was that one of those that stuck around with you for a couple days? What were you feeling kind of afterwards?
Oh yeah, like that whole week, it still sticks with me. We were there for 5 days.
Nice.
It was morning to night most days, and there was so much learned and gained, and such great people. And that was the class.
Hmm.
That was in 2013. That really made me feel like this is for me. I'm here. I need to do this with my life. I had already come to that conclusion, but I wasn't sure about the mediumship portion.
Right.
And during that class, I was like, without a doubt, I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm supposed to be here. Like, I actually feel like I belong, right?
Yeah. Yep.
on some level at
A
least.
sense of, yeah, and you started to get that sense of purpose.
Yes.
And that was big for me, was feeling a sense of, oh, I'm supposed to do this. And then you kind of have a purpose. And I think when anybody finds any part of their purpose, I think it's so moving, and it makes you think all kinds of things. And like I felt the same way in the beginning, like I'm not doing this. What, you know, how am I doing this? And it's hard to trust. And Linda was commenting here that it's so hard to trust in the beginning. And I think it's hard to trust even as you go on, which is why you always have to practice and work at it. Then Jessica had a great comment of, it's funny how people think of us spiritual people are crazy. Well, that's why it's hard to open up. And I'd say that's, it's hard to open up to a group of strangers, and like at a ghost conference, it's easy to open up there, because like the conference you're describing, conferences I've been at, it's like there's no judgment. And you can say those stories that start out with, well, you're going to think I'm crazy, and you have a place to feel belonging there. That's so cool. What a great story. And when we come back from our station break here, let's get into more of the numerology and your current work going on. And I'll go ahead and put in the comments here your website, kellybrickel.com. I'll put it in the comments here so everybody can see that. Make sure you go check out Kelly's website and all the services she offers. And it's a really nice website. It's really, very nice. So we're going to take a quick station break here, and we'll be right back in just a second.
Want to see your video here? Sponsor WLTK-DB Talk Radio and watch us make that happen. With your paid sponsorship of $80, you receive a professional produced audio, video, and banner placement on our station. Not only does your sponsorship air during our live shows, but also replayed on our podcast and heard by hundreds of like-minded people. Visit WLTKDB.com to get started and find out just how hard we work to get you noticed.
All right, welcome back. Boom. Welcome back to the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm always nervous how that transition goes, but it's just boom, and you're back on.
I should have known too. I've experienced it before.
Yeah. Boom, we're back on the air. Well, welcome back to the Paranormal Pete Show. I'm your host, Pete Orbea, right here on WLTKDB.com. And everywhere you stream podcasts, you'll find our station here. And we're with very special guest tonight, psychic medium, healer, and numerologist Kelly Brickel, who also hosts the Psychic Hour right here on this station, so on Wednesdays and Fridays. So you need to be sure to check that out. Welcome back. Before the break, we were just, kind of talking how you came up in mediumship, and you're kind of, you said the experience that blew the lid off of psychic mediumship for you. Now, I kind of want to get into, how did you get into numerology? Was it the universe put it in front of you, or is it something you were interested in before? Like, how did you get into numerology?
I think I was just searching for like clues to connect to the next step in all of my spiritual development and learning when I was younger. So if you can imagine, like I'm watching the Sylvia Browne show, I'm reading books, and I'm going, okay, all right. There's a lot of similarities here. I can relate to things personally. So if this is real, because I'm having experiences and have had experiences where it's real to me, but why hasn't this been talked about? Like, why isn't this more normalized? So in my mind, I'm like, either people are making this up, or people are not talking about it enough. So I kind of had this kind of personal exploration with truth, where I either wanted to start like busting mediums and debunking them, almost like what is that, like a Randy, that Randy guy. I know his name. I can't think of it right now, but
you could have joined the Society of Psychical Research, because they went out and busted mediums.
of that nature. Yeah.
Yeah.
For real. And I would have had a lot of interest in that, because it's just, I like doing things in the name of truth, and really breaking things down and understanding the bare bones of things. I have a lot of fun with that, but
Nice.
I really do. So I was like, okay, let me start to like dive in, and let me try to make sense of the soup, because some stuff is just hocus pocus, and some things, it stimulates like, okay, there has to be something more. So I started looking around with like astrology and numerology, and just other things like,
Tarot.
people,
Tarot.
card reading.
Yeah. Okay.
I actually did the card reading last, because this was part of the way that I grew up. I didn't have a lot of prior knowledge to any of this stuff, and so I grew up in a Catholic Christian background, really. And so some of these things were like, you better watch it, it was like, I didn't think about card reading as my first go-to, because movies and TV, it seems like a little bit too like, ooh. So that was the last one I went to, even though I use them today, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have no problem with it. It was actually my cousin who introduced me to cards. The only one really besides myself interested in this work. So I had a chance when I was younger to have a cousin, and I could talk about some of this stuff with. So that was really nice. That was, really appreciated him. And he had cards. So I never gave him readings until way later, but he would sometimes break out the cards and show them to me when I was a little bit older. But yeah, the first one was astrology and numerology that I looked at beyond doing like meditation and personal development with if I could feel spirit or energy. I was like, okay, people are using all these modalities and they claim they can connect to energy. So it's like, why can you do that through modalities? So are the modalities even real? And with astrology, I did not find enough to really keep me engaged. Now today, I actually have a lot of interest in astrology, but it's not what I do. I just have, it's like a hobby from time to time, right?
Sure.
And then I'm familiar with things within it. But the numerology, I was able to find a lot more connections when I researched to go, oh, there's something here. Like I started, researching people in the public, like whether it was like a president or like a singer or an actress, where their body of work is very, public, about them. You can kind of verify like, okay, if numerology says their personality should be like this, from what I observed, they seem to be more like this kind of person. So I found that with people's birth dates, I was finding consistencies with their job, with their career choices, right, with their personality, with what they had gone through in their life. And I said, there's too many coincidences where this isn't just a thing, a fluke. So I started researching it more and picking it up on the side. And sometimes I didn't focus on it primarily, but I would always have it with something that I would read about or learn about. I'd always go back to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's pretty interesting, and just kind of a silly question. Since you do numerology, what's your favorite number?
What's my favorite number? Oh, let's see. Gosh, that's a great question. It's changed. I really like the number 8 because it comes up in my life a lot. So I have like an association to it personally.
Okay.
After I got married. So when you get married, for women, your name can change. So I had a lot more eights in my chart after I got married. I've always liked the number 8, but now I have a lot of comfortability with it.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm not joking. If I order something online, I have a confirmation, like a vibration of 8s. My parking lot, little parking space is a number 8. And I don't pick these things. They just come find me.
Yeah.
Like, there's 8s everywhere. My address is an 8 right now.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Funny how
But
funny how that works.
I like other numbers too. Like, I love 11, 22, 33, but those are master vibrations. So I gravitate towards 2s sometimes a lot. So how can I put it? Everyone has predispositions to certain numbers because it highlights their energy in certain ways. So it's like, it does invoke a feeling. It really does a number.
Wow. So you're able to just kind of work from someone's birthday numbers, and that just, I mean, does that kind of mean that depending on the day we're born, whatever day that comes, there's always a due date, right? An expected date. Are we predispositioned for certain things in life, do you think, just because of the math? Just because of the day we're born, does that predispose us to the personality types, career choices, and all the things we were talking about? What do you think about that?
I don't think it cages us by any means, but it does predisposition us to having certain traits.
Okay.
It's almost like, if for anyone who plays video games, do you want your character to be speedy or have like a high strength stat,
Right.
right? Or a magic user, wield a
Right.
sword, they're going to have certain stats. So we kind of come to this life with certain stats, you could say.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy, and that makes sense to me. I guess because I like to play video games.
I do.
So have you ever had in numerology? Is there, let's say someone's like not on a good path, and like their numbers kind of show that. What are like, or I guess in mediumship too? I guess it goes across the board. But if someone's not like on the right path, and you see that in the numbers, you feel that connecting to the other side. If you're doing mediumship, what are some things that you would tell that person to kind of help them steer in the right direction? Like if you're seeing it, you know what I mean? You're seeing it in the numbers, and their numbers aren't matching what's going on in their life. And
Yeah.
like, how would you kind of try and steer them in a way to understand that this is maybe where they should be headed? Like, how do you do that in a reading?
Sure. So all numbers are neutral within themselves, but they have certain characteristics which highlight what you'll be interested in, what gives you joy, even what your talents are, your personality. So if someone's personality and choices are so far away from how their chart appears, but they acknowledge at the same time, well, yeah, I do have interest in that, or yeah, that comes up in my job from time to time, but they're not very happy within themselves. You remind them of how they actually like the things that you're describing of who they are, and
Right.
there's more energy there, and they perk up within their life every time they do those things, and you really kind of cheer them on to remembering how to follow what it is to not only feel good, but to feel like they've made the right gut decision, and they've taken a chance of what they believe who they are, or they believe in what could be good for them if they're not certain at all.
Great. Yeah, that's awesome, and I like your approach to it, and cheering them on, encouraging someone, to get back to these things that are kind of pillars of themselves that they may never have known about, or that they knew, but life, adulting, bad choices, environment can steer you away from those sort of things. Now, do you teach classes on numerology?
I do, absolutely. Yeah. A couple times a year, I run classes, whether it's beginner's numerology or something more focused. This year, excuse me, and last year. No, I'm mixing it up. This year, I taught a class with numerology where it was a numerology readings class, and it taught people how to read as they were learning numerology, how to read others and themselves. So it was much more active, and I enjoyed it very much.
So, did you have? You mentioned your cousin. Did you end up finding anyone else that was, could like a mentor for numerology? Like, what resources did you use to learn numerology?
At first, it was the internet.
Okay.
Then it was myself with trial and error, and then it was Glynis McCants. I stumbled upon her books, and as I looked at her books, I went, "Holy cannoli! Not only is this stuff good, but the things that she's teaching are some of the findings that I have found myself personally." And it's not that like, oh, we're the same. That's why I like, Glynis McCants. And yes, there's differences. Everyone's different. But when I was scouring the internet and I wasn't sure what was, a good resource or a bad resource at first, I just started like practicing a lot. And so I started learning things on my own. And I just noticed she had so many good reference points and examples and ways of teaching within her book. She's phenomenal. She does a lot of live readings too. She's around she does lives on Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that. She's incredible. I always recommend Glynis McCants, and she does Pythagorean numerology, the style that I do as well. So there's different types of numerology.
Oh, well, what's kind of the unique thing about the Pythagorean numerology that you do? What makes it unique?
Sure. It's considered Western numerology. And so in Western numerology, you're going to take the English alphabet. That's one thing, and break it down. And so the rules of how you extract numbers from the letters are a little bit different compared to other systems. So like, for instance, like A is 1 and Z is 8, because Z is the 28th letter of the alphabet, and 2 plus 6 is 8. Equals 8, right? And so every letter has a number, and there's different calculations. So in different systems, they use different calculations because they believe that it leads you to a different understanding about a person. So a lot of things are different from system to system. You won't find the same calculations at all.
Interesting. So, I bet you just kind of gravitated towards that one, and that's your jam.
That's the one I just happened to find, and I was like, okay, I like that. Like, for instance, another kind of weird thing, but it makes sense at the end of the day, is in different systems of numerology, the numbers even mean different things. Like in Chinese numerology, a 3 means something different than what it does in Pythagorean numerology. Okay,
Man,
so
that's a lot to keep track of.
yeah, but think about it. I mean, like, as long as it's accurate and consistent and it leads you to what you're looking to get out of it, like, then it works. So there's so many different patterns with how to work energy.
Yeah. Oh, great. And we got somebody else from the OC Paracon saying hello, Jackie. Thanks for watching. Coming in from YouTube there. If anybody has any questions out there, feel free to ask them. We got about 10 minutes left here. And so, like, when you did a numerology demonstration at the OC Paracon, like, is it different than mediumship in the sense that, like, you know what the numbers mean? Where I guess what I'm getting at is when you do it live, is it less pressure than doing mediumship live?
Less pressure than doing mediumship live. Yes and no. I would say you're still, like, with an audience. As long as you feel comfortable in the type of connection that you're doing, you're going to be okay. Comfortable to like a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
With numerology, it's a little bit nice, again, like, for my Virgo brain, because if ever I'm just like feeling a little squirrely or a little bit like say, I'm like, oh, today is kind of a weird day, I have a way to rev up my engine,
Okay.
where I just springboard with it. Because honestly, I just need like, I won't even do a numerology reading. I'll just go, oh, okay, can you give me your month and your day? Or can you just like give me even your month? Like, I'll just ask for one number and it will just, I don't know, it's like this familiarity that helps me just unlock going into
Yeah.
their energy. Like, for instance, when I do numerology demonstrations and it's live, so the more live something is, like somebody's like in front of me, or if I have them like one-on-one for Zoom, the more the psychic will come out because I'm in their energy, and it's just kind of, it's a much more easier connection because I
Sure.
feel them, they're right with me, even if it's on a screen. So I'll get things that not necessarily the numbers will tell me. The numbers will just help steer me into, oh, I could talk about this if I want to, and I could talk about that if I want to. And sometimes the numerology can almost be like a filler, and sometimes the psychic can almost be a filler from the numerology. They work just so hand in hand,
Yeah.
connected together. So yeah, like I was saying things during the demonstration that numerology was not going to get me, but it set me up to go there. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. You're using all these different tools in your tool belt to come up with what you need to come up with, and I think that's not easy to do. But I have noticed, like with tarot, because I've been learning that, and um I guess I was kind of looking for the next step sort of thing. Obviously psychic mediumship, I'll never stop learning. None of us ever will stop learning. We're never going to know all the answers until we're on the other side, but we can do our damn best while we're here in this life. But I noticed, like, and let me know if tarot kind of works, or pulling cards, not specifically tarot, but when you're pulling cards like that, almost gets things going sometimes. Or like if somebody's really, I think we've all probably had clients that they wanted a reading and stuff, but they're not really open. They're truly not open, and so we've got to get through. If they really want the reading, but they're having a hard time opening up, we've got to get through some walls. And so I found like that tarot, I that can kind of start breaking walls, and then the psychic stuff starts coming in. Does that kind of how it works for you too?
Sure. You know, you just have to find a way to get the energy going. And so there's many different ways to do it. And so numerology is one, or card reading is one. And sometimes, you just feel like a connection, and it's
Right.
just a matter of what gets the energy going. And so like when you're really connected to the cards, it's funny because it's paradoxical, you're not even paying attention much to the cards,
Yeah.
because the true connection is the energy or spirit, right? And it's not actually the cards. The cards are just a tool to get you to a place where you can, I guess, be free of the cards,
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Even when you're looking at the image, you're looking almost through the image, or you're grabbing pieces from the image, and it's a different pull every single time. And I guess sometimes when there's nothing to say naturally, you fall back on the archetypes, right?
Right.
Because they still apply. Just like in numerology, there's nothing I'm feeling really. I could actually fall back on what this number means, and it's still going to be very accurate. So why not? So
Yeah.
it actually is kind of fun like that. But yeah, once you really start going, just the cards just take you somewhere completely different, and
Yeah.
then right.
Yeah.
So
They right. And but at the same time they could be that filler to
yeah,
get that energy going, and it's just an interesting thing. And so I want to ask you this. Oh, Jessica Cat's got a comment here. Like Kelly said, it's better if we make our own cards. It's better. Yes.
If people want to. Some people like will never be into doing that.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like the preference of a person, but honestly, if you can get a collection of your own symbols, whether it's like a card deck or like a collection of symbols in your head,
Right.
you will be a far better. You'll be far better for it. Okay, it'll just be super helpful to have
Yeah.
that with you. And
It's
every
another
card,
tool.
correct. And imagine every card that you pulled, you created yourself, so you know exactly what it means. There's no manual you had to go through at any time.
Yeah, I really like the idea of that. I'm gonna have to think about that. That's really cool. Because yeah, you would know what it means instead of being like, okay, what does this mean? What did this mean hundreds of years ago when they came up with what it means? So that's really an interesting idea. So make your own cards. Well, one thing I wanted to ask you as a medium is, have you had the experience when you're just out and about in your daily life and you are really pushed to tell a stranger something because you have somebody, a loved one of theirs with you, and there's a message? Have you ever had that where you had to tap somebody on the shoulder and say, well, sir, ma'am, I've got something strange to tell you?
I think so. Everyone sets their brain up, uh, if they have a conscious relationship with working with spirit a different way, and everyone has a different belief system for this. So some people are compelled, or some people have been told by their teachers, don't do that, right? You know what I mean? So everyone has a different backstory on why they would or wouldn't do it, and I
Yeah.
really respect each individual. Yeah, I'm very respectful of people. I think there has been times where, um, you know, I kind of like really compartmentalize at times how I tune into spirit unless it kind of hits me in the face.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'm not looking for that, but there have been times, like for instance, we got our windows done once and I really felt his father was right next to him. And while he was talking about the windows, and then I come up to find that his father was the one who started the business and he's continuing to run the business. So it makes sense on why his father would be around with him on the job.
Yeah.
And so I don't go into, I kind of have this, tiptoe around way to do it. If I feel it very strong, I'll just start asking about their dad. Like, oh, that's interesting. Can you tell me about your dad? Or like, was he very encouraging? Like I'll put in adjectives that I already feel. And it's not like I'm trying to give a reading, but I will say, hey, let's talk about your dad for a second,
Yeah.
and it will just come in naturally within the feeling, and then I'll build the conversation, and it just seems, you can tell, really nice that the person feels like you cared about them, and it's an important heartfelt subject. So
Yeah.
I'll do that definitely from time to time. Like one time, for instance, this was a while ago, but I was I used to sell coconut water when I was younger, for a company. It was like Harmless Harvest, actually. And I was really, I still really am big into like food and health and wellness. But so I was selling coconut water, and there was a lady selling another product next to me, and she started. I don't even know how it came up, but I could see her two grandmas right next to her, and they were just like right with us in the conversation. And I've never had two grandmas like coming side by side, at that point, until that point, right?
Yeah.
And she was talking about how they were like such good friends and they got along and there were two peas in the pod. And so as she's saying these things, I'm just like, oh, well, that makes sense, right? And I just encouraged her to keep talking about her grandmothers. From one standpoint, you get to learn. If you're really tuning into something for real, you get to learn if you're curious, and
Yeah.
you get to talk about something so meaningful. So I take that approach a lot, even to this day. I don't really try to insert myself into saying, hey, let's like talk about your loved one. I just go, oh, hey, you just mentioned your father, or hey, like I'll just, or
Yeah.
it'll be a very natural progression, or, oh, hey, do you have anyone in the family who does this as well, right? And so I'll do that. But the one time I can tell you, Pete, I was in Whole Foods, and I was visiting my family for the holidays. And I'd already been told by my teachers and stuff, yeah, don't do that. don't go up to people and tap them up for a reading, or, you know. So I was aware of that. But I saw this girl, and she was in the bakery, and I just looked into her eyes, and I just saw all these, I don't know, these dreams and hopes and considerations. And I realized how entrepreneurial her mind was. So then I left, and I was like, I gotta, you know, I walked away. I got some bread, like sourdough or whatever. I'm like, I gotta, you know, I should say something. I know it's just, I know it's silly. I know it's whatever. I'm just gonna go back and say something. So I came back up to her, and she's like, oh, hey. I'm just like, hey, I was just thinking about something. And she's like, oh yeah, what is it? I'm like, have you ever wanted to own your own business? And she's like, well, actually, yeah. I'm like, you really need to do that. And she's like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, it's really important to you. Like, I think you'd be really good at it. And she's like, well, I've been thinking about that. And yeah, like, I think I'd be really good at it. I'm like, well, there's a reason I came here and said that, you know, there's a reason we're talking about it now. I really, really believe that you would be good within that. Don't let that go. And she just lit up and smiled, and she's like, okay, thank you so much. And she, you know, so to me, if something's nothing but positive and you really feel like it's for a purpose, not just because you want to say something, and your whole body is pulled to the person, and it's nothing but good, then why not? So that's how I feel. And it was simple. It was very simple, but there you go. A little something.
I like that. I mean, you know, if it's about positivity and something that could make a positive impact, I think it's, you know, I would share, you know, something like that. And I guess I didn't really, you know, have the teachings of, you know, don't do that sort of thing. There's only been a couple times where, like, I physically was being pushed towards the person, and I couldn't stop it, and I had to take a leap of faith and be like, you know, I've got something strange to tell you, but, you know, so and so I think is here, and then there's a message, you know. And the times I've done that, it has been really impactful for that person. Like, you know, that it was exactly what they've been asking about and praying about, and so those are pretty interesting experiences. But yeah, it's like a leap of faith, and I was just curious. That's why I asked it, you know, if you've had some of those experiences and how did you handle it. And my gosh, we're at the end of the show. It just flies by. I want to thank you so much. And last week I missed my 2-year anniversary show because of the internet. So I guess we could say this is my 2-year anniversary show of starting the show. So thank you for being my guest tonight. And folks, make sure you check out the Psychic Hour so you can see Kelly each week. And she has guests on her Wednesday show. And then she does readings on the Friday show. And remember, you can find it all at WLTKDB.com. And if you want to catch up on past shows, all the archives are right there. You can listen to all the past shows of this show, of Kelly's show, of everybody's show. So if you want to do some catching up, you've got some great content. And so be sure to check out Kelly's show, The Psychic Hour, every Wednesday and Friday right here on WLTKDB.com. I have next week off. I took next week off, and then I'm coming back in December with psychic medium Debbie Romero, from host of Transcend with Debbie. And then I've rescheduled Todd Bates, so he'll be on December 13th, and my internet better hold out, or you know, he's going to start thinking something's up here. But we'll be talking about his new book, which, guys, I got my copy, The Haunted Voice. You can find it at WLTKDB.com, or go to Todd's Facebook page, and you can find it there. It's available on Amazon, and the hardbacks are out now too. So, you know, be sure to check that out. We got a couple of comments. Happy anniversary! Yeah, 2 years. I didn't think I'd make it past 10 episodes, guys. I literally thought I was going to do 10 episodes, and then I would go off and do something else. But here I am still, and I want to thank all of my guests, Kelly included, the most recent one, back to my first one, Casey Goodwin, my good friend from Oregon Paranormal. Every guest I've had on has been such an honor. And gosh, I've learned so much. And one of the best things I think about doing this show every week is I get to learn from other people. And I get to, I learned some things about your experience tonight that I could take, Kelly, that I can take into my thinking with mediumship. And I hope that other people out there are getting that value too of learning something you can take away. And I've really learned so much from all my guests. And so I'm always humbled by the support for the show. And so here's to another 2 years. And when I get to my 100th episode, we'll do a big blowout and have some fun. Maybe I'll have some music. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. But I want to thank everybody. Jessica, thank you guys for today. Thank you. Thanks everybody for watching. And as promised, I would have a new toast. I've had the same toast for the first 2 years. So now I've got another one and may polish it a little bit as I go along. But I'll leave everybody tonight on the Paranormal Pete Show with special guest Kelly Brickel. I'll leave everybody with today is the history of tomorrow. Live it well and make your best history. And it's all about being present. That's what I've always talked about. Take some time each day to be present and really be there with the people you're with, the experience you're having. And so make sure that you do that each week, the best that you can do. And we've got the holidays this week. So happy Thanksgiving or however you celebrate it, whatever you do. If it's joining with family, this is a great opportunity to be there, be present this week with your friends and family, be there with them and take it all in. Make your best history out there. And Kelly, wish you a good evening and thank you so much for coming on. And I look forward to being on your show in December, on December 14th. Look forward to doing that and coming on your show. And with that, everybody, have a great holiday. Be safe out there and hug the ones you're with. Hug everyone else a little virtually for a little longer. And we'll see y'all in December, on December 6th. Right back here on the Paranormal Pete Show. Have a great night, everybody.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.